What is up, you fantastic, wonderful people? Today is a very big day for me, okay? Today is the release date, I think, unless I get this up the next day, but it should be up today, June 30th. This video is coming out June 30th, but today is the day Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, Indiana Jones 4, comes in the theaters. The first one in 30 years. Hey, get the fuck out. I see you trying to sneak in the frame. Get out. I refuse to believe you're real. Get the fuck out. That's right. It's the first one in 30 years, and it's Indiana Jones 4. How did they do after 30 years away from the man, the myth, the legend? They did okay. You know, I was a bit worried seeing the early reviews. It started out like 48% on Rotten Tomatoes. It climbed its way up. It's at like 66 or something last time I checked. And which isn't a horrible score. That means the majority of people came out of the movie and liked the movie. And you know, they left it off on such a good note on number 3. You really feel like, why do they have to come back to do Indiana Jones 4, right? Hell, if they ever make an Indiana Jones 5, there's no reason for that. Indiana Jones is my childhood hero. Those first 3 movies are all goddamn perfect. I don't care what anyone says. Temple of Doom is a great fucking movie. Kill yourself. But this new one, it's okay. I mean, I have major complaints with the movie, but I also have a lot of major things I like about the movie. Let's start with the likes, because I want to be more positive in this review, because Indy is my childhood hero. I love Indiana Jones. Raiders of the Lost Ark is arguably one of the best movies of all time, definitely in my top 3. And so I'm looking at this film with a bit of rose-tinted glasses. I will be straight up. I am. I'm gonna flush over some stuff. I am. And I did the same thing. There was a movie that came out a bit ago that was also like kind of related to Indiana Jones, but it wasn't Indiana Jones. But that movie, I remember really forcing myself to like that for a long time until I eventually snapped and just tore it in half. I couldn't fucking like it anymore. But this one, I feel like will grow on me, and I will appreciate it enough to keep it in the continuity in my brain. So the positives, obviously Indy's a positive. I love seeing Harrison Ford back as Indy. Those first 20 minutes of the movie, if you didn't see the trailers, they go to de-aged Indiana Jones. They like use the de-aging tech on Harrison Ford and make him his younger Indiana Jones self again. And the first 20 minutes was fucking fantastic. I loved every second of it. I was like, what the fuck are people talking about? This is fantastic. This is exactly what I want from Indiana Jones, you know? But then Harrison Ford, you realize he's an 80-year-old, and they cut to, you know, when the majority of the movie takes place, and he's old. And that's when the movie starts to get a bit bad. So Indy's obviously a strong suit. Even when he's old, he's still Indy. You still love him. I also really like Mads Mikkelsen. Mads Mikkelsen I like in a lot of stuff. He's not one of like my favorite actors, but I like him whenever he pops up and stuff. And I think he's great here as, you know, this Nazi guy, and he just works as the Nazi antagonist to Indiana Jones. I also liked the like premise of the Dial of Destiny, and I can't touch too much on it because I don't know if it was ever really talked about in the trailers too much, but the premise of the dial and what it does and what that leads to, I actually thought was really cool, and it worked for me. It wasn't as out there as like fucking just crystal aliens, which didn't happen, by the way, because this is Indiana Jones 4. But yeah, no, I thought this was, you know, it was a little bit out there. It got a little bit fantastical. Fantastical? That's a word, right? Yeah, probably. But it got a little bit out there, but still it worked for me. I liked the whole premise of what the dial did. I'm just not going to say that because I don't think it was ever really touched on in the trailers, and I don't want to spoil it. That's about where my positives end for this movie. Now, those are some major positives. All 3 of those things I think really work. Let's move into the 4 really big negatives I had with the movie. Let's start with the one that I think everyone's had a problem with. Everyone I've at least seen talk about it seems to have this problem. Phoebe Waller-Bridges' character, such an asshole. I fucking hate her character. I don't know why they included her. She plays Indiana Jones' goddaughter, and she's so unlikable. I don't get why all these major movie studios like think they're gonna make us like a character by having them shit on our fan favorite characters. They did the same thing with like Captain Marvel in Endgame. They bring in Captain Marvel, she shits on all of our favorite Avengers, and we're supposed to like her. And they do the same thing with, I forget what the character's name even was. That's how unforgettable and much I didn't care about her. I don't even remember her character, so I'm just gonna call her Phoebe. Phoebe's character, I couldn't care less because she just comes in, makes fun of Indy for like 30 minutes, begrudgingly works with him for the next 30, and then for some reason ends up caring about him at the end, and it's like, you just shit on him the whole movie and now you suddenly care about him? Fuck off. So her character really didn't work. She's probably the biggest negative of the movie. I hated that. The next one was, I thought the movie was pretty long, which I think is another thing a lot of people are talking about. The movie could shave off like almost a half hour in my opinion and just be a lot faster paced and a lot more just bam, bam, bam in your face and really get everything going. It does kind of drag out some scenes that you don't really care about, specifically with Phoebe's character. But there's some scenes that is really dragged out. The movie overstays its welcome a little bit. I love Indy, don't mind spending time with Indy, but I don't really care to spend time with the rest of the characters. The next bigger thing, I thought the ending was really bad. I really thought the ending was horrible. It's a very anticlimactic ending. You thought for like the end of Indy. Indiana Jones 4. This is probably the last time we're seeing him, right? And do you think they're gonna do this big, grand, epic scale finale or a very emotional, touching finale? And it kind of doesn't do both. It tries to go for the emotional, sort of heartwarming ending, but it just doesn't land it. You don't really care. Like, I don't know. It wasn't, the ending just kind of, I thought there was going to be like another 30 minutes or something, and they're going to go, and there was going to be a whole nother thing, and they were going to have this big climactic battle or something, but they don't. It just kind of ends, and then you're like, wow, that just, it leaves you so unsatisfied. It's like, wow, that's really the ending to the movie? They could have done something. They never really got their massive fight. They never really got anything. And they had like this cool thing building up with what the dial does that I can't say because I don't want to get into spoilers, but with what the dial does, they have this whole thing set up and it's cool, but then they just don't do anything. And then the movie just ends with this little heartwarming moment, which is a nice moment, don't get me wrong. Like, you like to see it, but it's a pretty shitty, not shitty, because I just said it was a nice moment, but it's a pretty shitty end because I would have liked a bit more, you know? And the final complaint I had was the action. It's very CGI, and the CGI isn't good. There's a lot of action that happens when Indy's on a horse or on a car and it's moving, and it just looks like such a fake-ass green screen. Those cars are not moving that fast, and the fucking back is just flying by them, and it just makes it look so fake. And then even like some of the stuff Indiana Jones does, it's like, okay, we understand that this is an 80-year-old Indiana Jones. He can't be doing some of this stuff. They could have easily, dialed back. Get it? Dialed back. They could have dialed back the action a little bit and just made it a bit more believable, because like this is an 80-year-old Harrison Ford and an 80-year-old Indiana Jones. I wasn't going into this movie expecting him to be, backflipping and kickflipping into enemies and shit, but he does do a lot of like really cool shit that he shouldn't be able to do at that age, and it just kind of takes you out of the movie a little bit because it's like, this is an 80-year-old man. So then you realize computers are doing it. Also, Indiana Jones' hat, a fucking trooper. Now, I get in most of the movies he is, but it's just funny how in this movie specifically, his hat just stays on his head and doesn't fucking move a muscle no matter what. There's once, this is a very minor spoiler, they're fighting on top of a train and they go under a tunnel, and the enemy flips Indy on him and shoves him up against the top of the tunnel. He's getting like dragged out of the tunnel, and Indiana Jones' hat doesn't move a little bit, even a tiny bit, when he's literally getting dragged across concrete. You'll know what I mean if you've seen the movie. Maybe I didn't explain that too well if you didn't see the movie, but he's basically getting dragged across concrete and his hat's just staying on his head for some reason. I don't know, just that scene specifically, it just really pointed out to me, wow, this man's hat doesn't fucking move. But yeah, even with those complaints out of the way, Indiana Jones is still my childhood hero. Arguably the only thing other than the MCU, Indiana Jones was probably the most influential thing on me growing up. I watched Indiana Jones a lot. I still watch Indiana Jones a lot. Raiders of the Ark is a great movie. The Last Crusade is a great movie. Temple of Doom's a fucking great movie. And this fourth one's not too bad either. I actually kind of, with all of its flaws, for some reason, I came out the other side still kind of enjoying it. I can't help but just like spending time with my childhood hero, So I feel like, and like I said, that's probably the rose-tinted glasses coming out. Maybe a few years from now, I'll be looking back and I'll be like, wow, this movie fucking sucks. But right now, my rose-tinted glasses are on. My nostalgia's hitting hard. I'm going to give the movie a 60 out of 100 on the official review scale. It's just nice to see Indy back again for one last ride, even if it kind of stumbles on its last few legs a little bit, but it's still just nice to spend time with Indy for 2.5 hours. Not nice to spend time with Phoebe, but nice to spend time with Indy. But that's about it. Toodles.
Give 'em hell, Indiana Jones!